things aren't going terrific for the Suns right now. We're going to try our very best. You have our word that we might break. We're going to try our best not to be too depressing after that Spurs loss without Wemby.
You know, you go on a 5-game win streak, or not 3-game win streak, and you're just like, man, the Suns are looking at you beat the Sixers, Hawks, Spurs. You're like, okay, you beat the Spurs handily by 25, sorry. And then you're like, okay, we're going to play the Spurs. No Wemby. We should be able to repeat that again. And stinker. And this team just can't seem to get out of its own way. And that's really the best way to put it, is they can't get out of their own way. 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. It's just, they just can't help it.
Was this the worst loss of the season to you?
To me, it might have been. I mean, I'm trying to think throughout the season. I mean, losing to them in the beginning of the season was also a low point for us. So it just seems like losing to the Spurs is a low point for us. And then once again, you're losing to a Wemby-less Spurs.
Which loss?
Who aren't?
Yeah, okay.
Well, this one, though, you lose to a Wemby-less Spurs who, let's be honest, are they really trying to win right now? No, they're trying to get themselves up for another lottery pick. And build that roster that way. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just like they weren't even trying to win for real. They were playing the Sohans of the league that game. And speaking of Sohan, he tore us up. Was killing it. Zach Collins was killing it. And so I think it might be the worst game of the season, just in the fashion that you lost, the players that you played. You had your big 3 and you just had so many turnovers when you didn't need them. You lose by 2. And I said that in our live stream. Look, you don't have any of those turnovers where it's an immediate fast break to the other side. 2 of those, you cut those out and you win the game. Okay. If you hit your free throws, because they shot 50% from the stripe that game, you win that game. Right. And so, yeah, I mean, overall, I think this was the worst loss of the entire season for sure.
A few things here that lead me to think it was. Obviously, no Wemby, and you just beat them. So, darn well you can beat these guys bad, even with their best player. So you don't like that. You don't like – depends on how you took Bradley Beal's post-game comments, which were very honest. I do like honesty. You know, as fans, we complain about coach speak. We complain about sometimes press conferences where it's like, what are we even doing this for? They're not going to say anything. They're not going to say anything that isn't in some form or fashion coach speak. It's like player speak. So it depends on how you feel about him saying something along the lines of, we thought it was going to be easy without Wemby, and we got our butts kicked. A lot of people upset about that. A lot of people feel like, and I've been reading through Bleacher Report comments on that today, a lot of people feel like, yeah, this is what you maybe should have expected from somebody who came over from Washington and hasn't ever really played.
I heard the comment too.
You know, and then the other thing, shout out to, I believe it's Awful Coaching. I don't want to say
on YouTube.
Yeah. You and I watched Awful Coaching video on that game, and it was insane. I mean, it was criminal, the lack of effort that the Suns gave. And I hate to name names, but the big 3 were culprits.
Oh, absolutely. In that film, for sure. Lazy defense, bad rotations, getting caught, not having the backs to the baseline, not looking for backdoor cuts. Yeah. The big 3 were the biggest culprits of that entire film study against the Spurs. And like you said, if Beal's comments, ring true, then yeah, obviously they thought that they were going to get away with one. They came in, just looking for the Spurs to roll over and lose that game. And clearly, when you have a bunch of young guys who are hungry, who want to stay in the league, who don't have to give Wembanyama the ball, right? Like, we don't have to pass him to him. We don't have to do anything. We can spread the ball, and it's our time. And they proved it. It was their time. Once again, they absolutely
enjoyed it. They enjoyed not having Wemby out there to have to pass to.
Exactly. Like Vassell had 26. Sohan had 26. Keldon Johnson had 14. Zach Collins had 18. They all shot about 44% from the field. I mean, they weren't playing terrible. The only thing that they didn't do as well as us is shoot the three. But like I said, we shot 50% from the free throw line. They shot 84. That was probably, you could say, the difference in the game along with those turnovers. We had 14-7. And I mean, I'm not a wizard, but I would say there was about 3 of those that was a pass from Booker to Durant that got cut off straight at the top of the key, easy, fast break points. So all of those factors into probably the worst loss of the entire season. And it's tough, man. It really is tough, bro, because, man, they need these wins. We have 10 games left, all against some of the absolute hardest teams you can play in our schedule. And then we looked at our schedule. Me and you looked at it last night, and then we compared it to the rest of the West. And some of the rest of the teams don't have the schedule that we have. We have freaking, oh my goodness, let me pull it up real quick. We have the Nuggets. We have Thunder. We play the Pelicans. We play the Cavs, the Timberwolves, Pelicans, Clippers, Kings, Timberwolves. We end our schedule like that. I don't see a team that is going to roll over. Would you say, Gabe?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. It's going to be the toughest 10-game stretch I can remember in recent memory.
Well, the good news is the Suns players don't seem threatened at all. They seem about as lackadaisical as if they were about to play the Spurs and the Rockets and the Pistons for the rest of the season. I mean, they don't seem, no offense, they don't seem very, very, they don't seem worried at all. And that could be a good thing. That could be a bad thing.
I was going to say, yeah, to their credit, like, you don't want them to press. You want them to continue to play their game and to play to their best ability in the way you want them to, right? Like, you don't want them to press and
maybe I do want them to press. Maybe I do, because whatever they're doing right now, I don't like it. I don't like.
I mean, what they're doing right now is completely just
whatever they want,
right? And whatever they want to do,
whatever they feel like. You know,
uninspired ball. That's what they're doing right now.
The question on the homepage for this stream was, are they trending up or down right now? Right. Something along the lines of that. Yeah. And if you're being completely honest, I won't say you, the viewer, because you might feel differently than us, and that's great. Personally, best I can do for you here is say that they are flatline. Like they aren't trending up, they're not trending down, they're just the same. And I, for one, am starting to accept this team for what they continually show me, which is
the record shows it, right? They've been 9-8 since the All-Star break. The record, so I mean, you could say, hey, it's flat, but the record shows the same thing. It's just been flat. A 500 club since the All-Star break is
okay, so exactly that's accurate. Yeah, Sean 35 in the chat, what's going on, says Book and KD combining for 65 today. Mark my words. I hope you're right, Sean. I do. Once again, apologies for the negativity. It's just one of them days after a loss that should never have happened. And this is probably the 4th or 5th time you could say that this season, maybe 6th time, where it's like, this loss is just painful. Just
right. I would have said the Houston Rockets losses after the All-Star break would have been, the ones for me. But the way they're playing now, the Houston Rockets are on a run. They're playing good basketball right now. So you're like, well, maybe they just turned it around when we played them. But
remember my cope-filled statement after the second Rockets loss on live stream? I said, this is probably cope talking, but I am hoping that this is the first budding moments of people realizing. I hope we all are able to look back and say, wow, the Rockets we didn't just play bad to the Rockets. They're actually becoming a good team in front of us. And luckily it happened.
I mean,
we let's move on to what we were right about last week and what we were wrong. I hate to gloat, but take her away. Take her away.
Look. I know. Look, we were talking, we were on here last week talking about what we expected, especially after that road trip that we had, the East road trip where we lost to Boston and the Bucks, and we were down on what we expected to see. And we talked about one thing in particular, and that was Isaiah Thomas and the 10-day contract signing and whether or not he was going to get minutes. And I said, hey, look, Saban Lee's coming off of his two-way. So is Azubike. Why would you get him a 10-day. If he's not going to play minutes to see what he has, I said I'd probably see him get about 15, 20 minutes. And then Gabe said,
I was trying to be hyper realistic given
Right.
what Frank's history is with playing the bottom of the bench. And I took a hardline stance that no, Frank will not play him. Frank won't play him unless he's forced to. Frank won't play Isaiah Thomas unless we're down 30 or up 30. And
not even if we're up 30, because he didn't even play him in that Spurs game.
right. A big part of me thought I was going to be wrong. But lo and behold, my instincts didn't fail me for once. And he not only doesn't play IT, he went out of his way that, like before that game, to let everyone know, I'm not going to play Isaiah Thomas. So don't ask. If we're healthy, he's not cracking the, like, We're thinking, is there something going on between James Jones and Frank, or what is the disconnect? Because you bring in Roddy, you refuse to play him. You bring in Azubike, you refuse to play him. You bring in, I was going to say Saban Lee, but I'm glad we refused to play Saban Lee. But you bring in IT, young. You bring in Thad. No, not going to do it. It's like a toddler sticking his nose up at the food that his mommy and daddy are putting on his high chair for him to eat. And then they're like, all right, well, do you want this little point guard? To be clearly you need a point guard. Here's a point guard. Flips the macaroni and cheese over on the floor. Get this out of here. And now you might have to see IT play because Bradley Beal's finger is hurt, unfortunately. Yep. And boy, oh boy, Sundo, wouldn't it have been nice if he had some reps under him? I'd love to see Isaiah Thomas play, against the Nuggets. I'm sure he could still maybe do a little something. But wouldn't it be nice to have had him get some game experience playing in the NBA again, so that now that when you're playing the defending champs who want revenge because you came in and stopped their 8 or 9 game win streak they were on last time you played them, they're going to be looking for blood. And now you don't even have, maybe Beal plays through it. But I tell you what, more than likely, Beal is not going to shoot well, not with an injured ring finger on his shooting hand. He wasn't even shooting great already with a fully functioning hand.
4 of 11. Look, I really don't think Beal's gonna suit up. If I'm just guessing, we have to wait until later tonight whenever we get the reports that Beal's gonna play. He's already questionable. Him and Nurk are questionable.
They both been Warriors this season, so I won't put it out of the realm of possibility that both of them play. But how effective are they going to be? How effective is Nurk's poor ankle going to be with that 270 pounds?
I think Beal could be more effective than Nurk per se, because him and the ring finger, but Nurk with the ankle is more of the concerning of the two, in my opinion. So I don't know, but I would like to see IT. His 10 days up after Friday, so
last chance to play him.
These last 2 games coming up. We have this game, and then we have a game on Friday that we have. So we'll see. I don't know if they'll give him another 10-day before the season's up for the rest of the schedule and see what happens there. But
that brings me to the next.
You just like to see him, man.
That brings me to the next poll. He might not play tonight. He might play tonight. Honest to God, since Beal's out, or not out, but injured, he might actually see some time tonight. Whether or not he sees time tonight, do you think that the Suns should sign him to a 2nd-day contract? Tell us in the comments and tell us.
2nd 10-day? Yeah, I think they should. Will they? I don't know. It's up to Frank, right? As you mentioned, it seems like James Jones keeps bringing them players. Thad Young has been a player that James Jones has been after for the Suns for the last 3 years, it seems. Finally got him. Doesn't see the floor. IT doesn't see the floor, right? And so depends on what Frank does. I think you get him back on the 10-day. You need that depth just in case. Booker and Beal have been injury prone this season. Who knows? You need that ball handling depth. So yeah, I say you give him another 10-day and see how it goes. Hopefully he can see the court. But with Frank, it's hard telling if he does.
I feel like it's a waste of time. I feel like it's a waste of ink in a ballpoint.
Is it though? Is it though? I mean, you need that roster. You need that final roster spot filled, right? So
Frank don't care. Frank doesn't care.
I mean, Frank doesn't care, but your GM cares, and the
Frank don't care about the GM. So, Frank don't care about Ishbia. Frank don't care about the fans. Frank don't care about the fourth quarter. Okay, I was reading on Bleacher Report earlier, and this all I guess kind of goes into, you know, did we load this poll? Because this is a controversial question, because it's a stupid question. Okay, because nobody should be having to have this conversation. Shout out to Justin, says yes, 100%. I think Frank should get a 10-day. I think he'd rather play himself than IT.
That's funny.
But this is a stupid question, so I apologize for asking the question. Bleacher Report, good people of Bleacher Report. I'm sorry.
Bleacher Report Suns community.
I'm sorry, but it begs the question: should the Suns fire Frank before the playoffs? Now, hear me out. Just hear me out.
Here we go.
The answer to this question is always no. It's always no. This close to the playoffs. You know, it's questionable to do it early in the season. It's questionable to do it late. There's a certain window of time you want to usually make that change. But let me tell you about this Bleacher Report story that I read earlier. I should have written down the name. I'm sorry. It just came out. It's in the Suns section if you guys want to check it out. But it was basically talking about the fourth quarter woes for the Suns. And I'm going to loosely quote it here. I could be wrong on the exact statistics, Sundo, but the Suns are the worst fourth quarter team in the NBA, almost 7 times worse than the second to last. The Suns get outscored by 14.1 points per game per fourth quarter, and they've been outscored by 217 points total. 217 points total. 217 points this whole season. And so sometimes you have to accept people for what they're trying to tell you they are. People tell you who they are. They tell you what kind of coach they are. They tell you what kind of fourth quarter team they are. And sometimes you just don't want to listen because you don't want to listen because it's painful to listen to it. But this team has tried to tell us over and over. Frank Vogel is screaming at us, and not the parody account because he's lovely. He's screaming at us, I don't know what to do in the fourth quarter. I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know what to tell these guys. Okay? I don't know what kind of offense to run. I don't know how to get them to close out on defense. I don't know. So, given that, didn't I say I was going to try to be positive? And I'm not really.
Yeah, you definitely.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm going to choose honesty over positivity. Honesty is, I don't think that the Suns, I don't feel like I have any reason to believe that the Suns are going to win the title this year. Okay? Yeah. I don't have any reason to think that the Suns are going to get out of the first round, save it be for a juicy matchup versus some team that has injuries plaguing them.
AKA the Timberwolves. AKA the Timberwolves.
You know, maybe we get through that. Maybe since the Clippers are having issues, maybe we get matched up against them and we get through the Clips. Okay. I have no reason to believe that they're going where we expect or want them to go, which, you know, Western Conference Finals is bare minimum where the Suns should have been at the beginning of the season aiming to get. That's like their threshold of what they have to accomplish to not be considered failures. So I already am there. Maybe you're not as a Suns fan. God bless you if you're not there. But considering that's where I think we're going to be, what would be the point? What would be the point of arguing getting rid of Frank and having the highest paid, potentially you could use him, the highest paid assistant, Kevin Young, step in, and maybe the players are rejuvenated for a little while because they've got the guy they actually wanted in there. I mean, they're not listening to Frank Sundo. They're not doing what he tells them.
You heard the rumors that happened at the beginning of the season, right? The rumors were that the players didn't want Frank. They wanted Kevin Young. That was a rumor that was spread amongst Suns Twitter and the Suns community. So there's that, and I'm not going to say that that's true, but where there's some smoke, there's fire, right? When you hear things like that, maybe that's possibly true. Also, one thing that I always bring up in our live streams is just the way they play in the fourth quarter. We see, in the article, it says that they outscore their opponents by 427 points
in the first 3 quarters.
Right. In the first 3 quarters, right? And it seems like in the fourth quarter, they always want to slow it down, do this ISO ball, let Durant get the ball, let Booker get the ball, let Beal get the ball. Hey, we're trading pick and roll ISOs, taking difficult shots. And it's like, that's just not, in my opinion, how you win in any game, really, is taking the most difficult shots that you can in the fourth quarter when you need to clutch it up. And I know they want to slow the game down, but I feel like that's just not it. And that's always been the woes of the entire season, is how they play in the fourth quarter. That's just, I don't know why. And once again, that comes down to coaching. Like, are you telling them to do that? I know you want to slow it down because you want to, stave off any run that the team has. But I think one of the best ways you can do that is by, scoring the ball yourself, putting the ball in the hoop yourself, and not taking all these difficult shots, right? And so, look, I'm not going to be the one to say, hey, Frank's got to go now. But 100%, if there's not a Western Conference appearance for this team, absolutely.
Well, I'm willing to amend that. I'm willing to bring it back because my expectations are so low for this team going forward. I'm willing to bring back the bar of success. I'll move the goalpost forward 10 to 15 yards and say, get to the second round. But Sundo, was that ever expected? Was that ever
that was never expected
okay?
After the Durant trade or the Beal trade or whatever. And that wasn't expected by what they were telling us during the offseason, what the expectations were. 36 unbothered, right? We expect we're a championship roster. We think we're the best roster in the league. That's what we were told, right? That's what we were told. That's what we were sold at the beginning of the season. So the expectations are you're supposed to be the best roster in the league. You're supposed to be the best team in the league. Western Conference, I feel like, is generous after you gave us those expectations. And so, nah, bro, I wouldn't even pull it back. Not even a second round, because clearly there are issues with this team. Uninspiring ball, lazy defense, crazy offensive decisions in the fourth quarter. And I know that we talk about, and you can put this poll up because I know I want to talk about this. How they would say, oh, we just got to get there and we'll be okay. Then we'll figure it out. Then we'll flip the switch. Do you really think a team that's coached like this throughout the season with all these bad habits, do you think they're going to flip the switch during when they need to, during the playoffs, during a play-in game?
Here's why I can get positive. Okay. Thank you for bringing up something I can try to be positive about. When I wrote this poll, you could tell by the quotation marks that I was being sarcastic by saying flip the switch. But it does. So expect them to flip the switch. I don't know if I expect them to, but we talked about this a little bit when we streamed Mavs versus Kings last night. The best case scenario for the Suns is that, and it is possible, is that our issues stem from playing versus teams that we don't take seriously. You don't take the Wemby-less Spurs seriously, you lose. You don't take the Rockets seriously because they're the Rockets, and you think that you're way too good for them, you lose to them. Same thing early in the season, didn't take the Spurs seriously. There's other losses you could look at. That's not going to happen in the playoffs. I guess I shouldn't say it's not going to happen, but
in a series, right? So you can't do that, but yeah, what you're saying.
The Suns are going to be underdogs more than likely in the playoffs, which I think is a better place for them to be, because I think that they get a little bit or a lot of bit arrogant when they think they're the superior team. They're going to be playing teams that people expect them to lose to, expect them to get bounced and embarrassed by. And so that personality trait, that team-wide personality trait of taking the other team lightly, more than likely is not going to happen. You're not going to have that issue. You're going to have a team that is taking each game seriously. So in that sense, I think that a switch might seem like it was flipped, but really it's just turning off the switch that enables the team to just mail it in and take teams too lightly.
I see you're playing some Jedi mind tricks with your logic here.
With my some mental gymnastics.
With your mental gymnastics, with your logic here about the switch is on. We just need them to turn it off. We need to turn off the arrogant switch, is what you're saying, by playing the Nuggets and the Thunder and the Pelicans and teams moving forward that, are going to be tough matchups for the rest of the 10-game stretch we have here. That's what you're trying to tell me, is that they're going to stop the arrogance and take these games seriously.
I think it's very possible that, you're like, wow, the Suns really were just waiting for the playoffs to play some of their best basketball. It's like, yeah, no duh. They don't think that they're going to walk through their opponent anymore. When they think they're going to walk through their opponent, they're terrible. They're abysmal. They're an affront to basketball. When they think that it's so disrespectful, and I didn't want to.
I would agree with you, except for the road trip that we had, the East Coast road trip where we played the Celtics, Cavs, and Celtics, and completely looked abysmal in that run, right? And even in that Hornets game where we beat them by 9, we should have beat them by a lot, but we let them stay in it. And then the Bucks game as well, where we just played no defense and Bobby Portis blew us up, right? Yeah. So I would agree with you, except for we have that stretch of games to prove that that's not the case, because those were all playoff teams minus the Hornets. And so I don't know. I think there's no switch to be turned on. The switch that needs to be turned on is stop your bad habits. That's really it. Stop your bad habits. Stop the lazy defense. Stop the lazy rotations. Stop leaving threes wide open. Stop letting dudes backdoor cut and you just let them go, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant. You know what I mean? That's really the bad habits in the switch that you need to turn off or on or whatever is the bad habits one. I just don't know if they're going to do that. I think
there's too many bad habits. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just think, once again, when you're coached like that throughout the season, you can't turn those off. This team is what it is. And this is what this team's going to be in the playoffs if they make it. They're going to be a team that's going to score a ton of points in the first 3 quarters, and then in the fourth quarter, they might collapse. I feel like that's the one thing they got to fix. They just got to stop that fourth quarter collapse.
10 games left. Do the Suns win? Do they stay on this 500 trend? Do they win 5 out of the next 10, which they need to do better than that, but I don't personally think they're going to. I'm done with that part of life.
Let's play the game real quick. All right. I'll list the games off and you go ahead and do what you do. Tonight we play the Nuggets, W or not.
L, because we're probably not going to have Nurk or a full strength Nurk, and we're not going to have Beal or a full strength Beal, and they want revenge for us beating them.
Beal said today, I'm looking at the article, all hands on deck. So it sounds like Beal's going to go for it.
Okay.
So there's that. So you're going to have Beal. Now, whether he's going to be effective, we'll see. I think you're right on the Nurk thing. I think if you don't have Nurk, Joker's going to have just a field day with Eubanks on him. Next game after that, we play the Thunder, Good Friday, 7 p.m. in OKC.
Dude, don't make me do this on Bleacher Report in front of everybody, bro.
This is what we have. So we got to do it. You got to look at it. You know what I mean? I think, now me personally, I think that's a winnable game. I do. I like OKC. I respect them. They're young. I like Chet. I like Shea. I like the whole squad, for being honest. But I feel like with the veteran players that we have, we should be way more experienced than them. I personally think that could be a W. Should be, in my opinion. And then 2 days later, on Monday, you go to New Orleans. I personally think, we could win that one. Willie Green does have our number, right? You're just blinking, you're just shaking your head, bro. Because you're just like, gosh,
this is why I want to do Bleacher Report after wins, bro. I don't want to be on here on this beautiful platform talking about the Suns after you lose to the Wembley Spurs, because it's like, how am I supposed to sit here and stick my chest out and be like, we're beating the Pelicans, we're beating the – it's like I know, but let's just finish it out because it's hard. Then you got the Cavaliers at home. I feel like that should be a win at home. I'll give them the win on that.
Then you get the Timberwolves at home. Now, once again, that's
anything
tough.
Can happen.
Anything can happen there. Then you get the Pelicans again at home. And
I think we get one of the Pelicans wins.
Right. And I mention this because, once again, these are teams that you need to beat in the standings coming up, minus the Mavs, because you've already played the Mavs in that series. That's out the door. You can't make up ground on them unless they go on a losing streak themselves, which we looked at their schedule last night. Doesn't look that way. So the teams that we have right here, especially the Clippers and the Kings and the Pelicans, those are the teams that we got to make up ground on. We can make up ground by beating them through this stretch. So Pelicans. Then you have the Clippers on a back-to-back, one at home, one in LA.
Ain't no way you win both of those back-to-back.
Okay. So, then after that back-to-back, 2 days later, on the 12th of April, you have the Kings in Sacramento.
Okay, after watching the Kings last night, if they play anything like that, that's
I was getting ready to say, they have looked like they're
struggling.
And then you end the season at Minnesota Timberwolves on the 14th. That's a Sunday, 2:30. So that's an early game. So we got to keep that in mind, because that's going to be a 12:30 start. And we've talked about that already, how this team during these early games just look like they're still asleep.
I'll lie and say that they win that game.
So, I mean, yeah, from what we said.
What's that, 4 out of 6?
That's like 500. Yeah, 4 out of 6. That's about 500.
4 and 6.
Yeah, and you can throw a toss-up in there. So, I mean,
this is a poll I can't wait to see, because obviously after this stream, a lot more people will see the stream and they'll vote on this sort of thing. I can't wait to see what people think about 5 out of the next 10. You know, considering that's what we think, that leaves us with only one option, which is the play-in tournament at best. Now, I know you think it's a little too early to talk about this. I am already there. Mentally, I'm already watching the Suns in the play-in tournament. I already know that's going to happen if they get that lucky. If they don't embarrass themselves furthermore, which they are very capable of doing, obviously, as we learned against the Spurs. Embarrassment is not too low for the Suns. What's the best matchup for the play-in? And here's the teams that they're dancing with right now. The Lakers, who the Suns have had their issues with early in the season. They barely could beat the Lakers this season. Save it for 1 or 2 times. Golden State Warriors, who both of those teams scare me in the play-in, because I think that Adam Silver will be on his phone the entire time with the referees. The
Adam Silver tinfoil hat theory.
Making sure that his baby boy Curry or his baby boy Bron. Come on. Who do you think the NBA wants to advance? It's Bron or Curry. They just sell better. They're bigger California markets. Like, I don't like, just like Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson were talking about, I believe, on their podcast about, you know, or who was it? Jeff Teague talking about we're going to have to win by 15 to win by 1. It's that type of a matchup with those two, because it's one game, one and done. The rest can really affect that. The Kings scare me in a 7-game series, but I think we could beat them any given night, so that's not as scary. And then the Houston Rockets, which would be poetic if they're able to step up and keep the Warriors out. Can you imagine?
Could you imagine, bro? Let's just say right now, the way the standings are, let's say the Rockets do leapfrog the Warriors and the Warriors don't make it, and the Rockets are 10. And let's say the Rockets don't beat the Kings, and then we lose to the Lakers, and now we have that last spot, or that last spot that gets played, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, gosh, man, you don't want to see that. But
I think the Kings and Rockets are your two choices.
It would be, I don't know, because the Rockets have been playing well. They're on. Ime Udoka's got them playing well.
Are they going to beat Kevin Durant and Booker and Beal in 7 games?
I don't know.
You know what I mean? 7 games where the Suns wouldn't be fooled anymore. I know, but they're not fooled anymore. The Suns actually know who the Rockets are now. The Suns should know better than anyone who the Rockets really are and what they're capable of. So maybe 1 out of those 7 games the Suns don't take seriously.
Regarding that, we got to let them get in there. But right now, the Kings, I think, would be the best matchup in a play-in for me. Anyway, just with the way we saw them, they could turn it on. And, you know, and we heard about what Mike Brown said to KD and during that one game, saying, we're not worried about you, your offense. We don't worry about what you do. So like that type of smack talk, when you hear that, it's just like, it's very telling about where your team is at. When a coach is telling your star player, we're not worried about what you're doing right now. We ain't scared. So, man, it's a rough existence right now as a Suns fan. It's a rough existence with the way this team is playing with this game stretch coming up. It's going to be tough. And, we have 2 weeks until we see how this all plays out. So I guess we'll see you guys next Wednesday, and we'll see if we're in any better shape.
Tonight is going to be so huge, man, because this is an opportunity to wipe the slate clean and get all of the good mojo back and send a statement to the world. Look, we messed up. We messed up. We took the Spurs lightly because of no Wemby. We didn't, but this is what we do when we take teams seriously. We can beat the Nuggets twice. But to me, bro, that is all a pipe dream. And if I were betting, I would say it's going to be closer to a repeat of that Celtics game and Bucks game where they just beat the brakes off the Suns. The Suns are looking around for answers. Frank is putting Rogaine on his head and is like, we're in a game right now?
You really are down bad.
I'm sorry. I once
you
again,
really are down bad, man.
I want to apologize to everyone for my negativity. I want to apologize for bringing Suns fans down further than they've probably already been. But we'll see you guys next Wednesday. Sundo, always a pleasure.
Yes, sir.
Until next Wednesday, go Suns.